yo, I hate the club, but I see them clubbing every weekend. It's like, you don't hate it, bro.
When you're in your early 20s, it's important to sit by yourself without your parents, without a man, without your friends, without siblings.
Speaking of men, right?
Oh, I feel like I'm living in a Tyler Perry movie. Like, you know, the Tyler Perry movie.
What character? Like,
the...
But we're going to move on to the next topic, and we're going to keep this segment a little shorter, right? Because we've been chatting.
I was about to say, I can see why this is about to be 2 hours.
Yeah, we've been chatting. But I also want to talk about just on a personal level, right? Just being young, black, pushing towards success, having your mind on straight. How do you stay focused, right? How do you, as a young woman, not get off your game? Because there are a lot of distractions out there. There are a lot of people who, you know, just not focused. So how do you keep that vision?
God. Just the period. Just God, period. I am very, very vocal about the fact that I would not be where I am without God. I am very vocal about the fact that I am only here speaking to you on this podcast. Everything down to us being friends and meeting in college, from me being able to be on the Hill to me having the passion to talk about politics, is God. And so when I talk about me being focused, I think about things like, if God gave me the opportunity to be on Capitol Hill, how dare I be lazy? If God gave me the opportunity to speak at Albany, something I've been praying for, how dare I be shy and not do my big one on that stage? And so when I think about scrolling on TikTok, and there are times where I'm catching myself scrolling on TikTok and I'm like, oh, I've been here for 2 hours. I think about the opportunities that God has awarded me. The fact that I'm sitting in an answered prayer and going 10 times as hard as that, because I know that I don't take anything that he's done for me lightly, because it can all be taken away the next day.
That's a fact. That's a fact. So I guess, like, but how do you find a balance? Because to your point, what we did talk about earlier is that life could be overwhelming and life is short.
Yeah.
Right? So, and they was getting lit back in the day too. The revolutionaries was getting lit. So how do you find a balance, right? What do you do for fun? Like, what do you do hobby-wise? Like, you know?
Yeah. Well, the book of Proverbs talks about wise counsel, and you and I have a conversation often about having a board of visitors. And so because I'm a young person who is in politics, I understand that one day I also want to run for office. You know, I'm very particular about what I choose to do on social media, what I do in person. And so with that being said, I have my board of visitors. I have my set friends and family and counsel that I go to talk about different things that are going on in my life, whether I'm overwhelmed, whether it's a large decision that I'm about to make in life, or whether it just be personal things. And I'll talk to you and my grandmother about that and figure out how to move. Now, in terms of having a life balance, I don't know if it's just because I'm older now, but like fun looks differently. And so in college, we would go to a lot of parties. You know, we just came out for Greek life. We was at an HBCU, and so fun was different. Now I do a lot of yoga, Pilates, art galleries. Like, I think fun looks differently now.
No, that's a fact. And I think like a big thing too is find something that you generally enjoy. I feel like a lot of times social media will put things in our face. Like, we have, if I had $1 for every time somebody be like, yo, I hate the club, but I see them clubbing every weekend, it's like, you don't hate it, bro.
Yeah.
You can't hate it if you keep going. Like, if I hate something, I'm not going there every weekend. I may go there every once in a while, maybe a friend's birthday or something like that, but I'm not going there every weekend because that's not something I enjoy doing.
Well, people don't know themselves to know what they enjoy doing. And so they fall back on the club. Once you sit with yourself and figure out what you like doing, it's easier for you to replace the club with different things. And so for me, you know, I'm in DC by myself. We have a long distance bestie relationship. Cry emoji.
She calls me all the time.
And so I go on a lot of solo dates, right? And so I found friends and I found community in DC after being there for 2 years. But initially, I had to have a lot of days where I would sit in the car in silence. I had a lot of days where I live alone, so I would just sit in my house in silence. Like, I would wake up and not hear my voice until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and be like, oh, like this whole time I was having conversations with myself in my head, but I didn't realize I didn't talk. And so in my first year after I graduated, I figured out what I liked and what I didn't like, because for the first time in a while, I wasn't with my mom. I wasn't with my friends to have a different opinion of what I did and did not want to do. I wasn't with a man to like have his point of view. And I think that's so important for women when you're in your early 20s, it's important to sit by yourself without your parents, without a man, without your friends, without siblings. Figure out what you like to do, and just optimize on that time.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Okay, speaking of men, right?
Oh.
So how do you feel like the dating scene is for people like yourself, right? I think a lot of times when women are distracted, you know, it's a certain audience of men who try to reach out to them and stuff like that. For someone like yourself who is focused and stuff like that, do you find that same issue? Like, what is it like?
I feel like I'm living in a Tyler Perry movie. Like, you know, the Tyler Perry movie.
What character? Like,
the probably like Gabrielle Union. I don't know.
Gabrielle Union, not crazy.
Like, I don't know what specific show, but y'all know the black woman who, like, she's successful and she has her career. Like, she knows what she wants to do in life, but like a man just... I don't know. Like, I really don't know, because on one side, I'm so like career focused. Like, you and I have these conversations, but I don't know what my future looks like in 10 years in regards to a husband and a family, but I know what it looks like in regards to my career, or I can pray on what it looks like. Like, I'm not even in a space where I'm praying to God for a man right now. I'm literally praying to God on my career, the opportunities and the doors that it opens for me. And so my prayer and praying that God opens me to these doors is that as I continue to level up in life and as I continue to be in different environments and different spaces, that my husband is in that space. And so for me right now, when I first started and I first moved to DC, I was by myself for a really long time. Am I being honest here? Y'all, I
now we get Des and Jada vibes.
Okay, so let me get comfortable.
Yeah, it's not in the no time.
Okay. No, I'm gonna tell you my story because I feel like somebody may need this. When I first moved to DC, I'm gonna make it quick. I was in a relationship that did not serve me because I didn't want to be alone. So I was in a relationship with somebody who was my high school sweetheart at the time. And I had a very scarcity mindset. Like, I felt like that was the only person for me. Life could not get any better than that. But subconsciously, I was pulling myself down and I was pulling him down. And so as I was going through life, I was trying to bring him along with me, but we knew each other from that high school phase. And so I always bring it back to God, because if you aren't ready to leave somebody, God will make them leave you, or he will make you leave them, or he will do something that splits y'all up. And so after that, I really had the time going back to myself to be isolated and to really learn what I do and do not like. And so now it just looks like focusing on my career. So when I walk into that door and as I talk about the man that I do want to have, I am the woman for him. And that I'm able to be emotionally intelligent enough to sustain that relationship.
That's a fact. But I think too, like, okay. All right. But because they also tell us in our 20s, this is the time when we should be dating, because
no time for that.
Because of, you know, you want to date to figure out what it is that you want to, what they say? Type of person you want.
Like what you like and what you don't like.
I feel like I'm at a point where I know what I like and what I don't like. Like, I don't need to have multiple women to figure that out. What do you think?
So when we talk about dating and being young, it's something that has to become a priority, right? And I think for me right now where I am, my career is my priority. So if you really think about it, it's 24 hours in a day, right? Let's say 8 of those hours you're sleeping. A lot of people work a 9 to 5. And then at that point, you really have 5 to 11 p.m. I'm spending that 5 to 11 either learning a skill that's going to help me, focusing on my brand, my career, or doing something that's going to build me up for the next day. No point in that 5 to 11 do I have time for a man texting me, what are you doing? What's your favorite color? And so I think it really goes back to, you have to treat your dating life and go after it with that same drive that you go after your career with. And so go into different events with the hopes of finding a husband. And I think I'm in that space where I'm going to events where I'm looking to network and figure out which next opportunity I can get instead of a man.
No, that's a fact. And like we was talking about earlier, like, we see when girls and women are going to events and they're looking for a man, and they'll even say it. I'm trying to find a man, girl, when they're in the bathroom. Yeah, like, they'll even say it. And I feel like just right now, when we really think about it, like, I really think it boils
You were
back.
young.
Yeah, I feel like it boils back to what your priorities are.
Yeah.
Like people like us, like we really are career driven, and we have such a future ahead and
Which
a
has
future
its
that
ups and downs.
a future that we see for ourselves. That I think that like prioritizing like relationships being our number one thing just does not make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it has its ups and downs. Like, I feel like sometimes you can tell when a woman is giving off, like, I'm about my business. I'm only focused about my career right now. And sometimes it can be a very intimidating aura that you don't even want to come up to her. And I think sometimes when I'm in these conferences, I'm very much in my masculine energy. I'm not being feminine at all. Like, I'm going after it. If I am needing an opportunity, or I'm needing to talk to somebody, I'm coming up to you and I'm saying exactly what I want and what I need. And so a lot of times, you know, when you're dating, you need to be in your feminine. So as a man, it could be hard to approach women sometimes when they're in that space. But I think on the flip side, like when I go to these conferences, you want to have a partner. Like you want to have somebody that balances you out. And so I definitely think it's something that I want to look into, like as I get older, as I start to like maybe like 28, 29, so I settle down. But for right now, I think I'm in the building stages of my life. And so I think as I continue to build my education, as I continue to build my circle, the opportunities that I have, that will also open up the pool and opportunities of partners that I'm able to connect with as well.
Now, that's a fact. And I think something I do want to bring up too is the single mom thing, right? And when I bring up single moms, I'm not bringing it up from a negative standpoint. I'm bringing it up from the cycle that we have going on.
Yeah.
And I'm not comparing our community with other communities right now. I don't know what other communities have going on. I'm just speaking to young Black single mothers. That's it, right? And just having babies young, right? I feel like a lot of us young people, we have to find more things to do with our time, right? Because when we have a lot of things going on with our time, like when I really look at the moms who are young, a lot of them, when you think about it, they have a lot of time on their hands.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But again, my disclaimer, every time you do have sex, it's always bound, or always not always bound, but it's always a threat for you to either have a baby. Not a threat. What's the word?
You have the possibility.
Yes, you always have the possibility, because threat sounded crazy. You always have the possibility of having a child or getting an STD. That's always a possibility. Those two things every time you have sex. Yeah. So I'm not saying like you can be the busiest person on earth, have sex that one time, get pregnant.
You have a baby.
So I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's an issue. I'm just talking about like when it comes to having children, we have to think about the environment we're bringing these children in, the world that we're bringing these children into, right? If we're trying to break generational curses in our family, because that's what we have to do, right? We can't afford to keep the same cycles going on in our communities. So if we're trying to break these generational curses, we have to prepare to have children. Yeah. We have to make sure we're financially, what Drake said, how he gonna date you in this
economy?
Yeah. How he gonna support you in this economy? How you gonna support your child in this economy without government assistance? It's expensive as heck, right? So that's something we have to consider, being financially stable, right? Mentally, are we okay? How are we bringing up a whole nother human being when we are trying to figure it out ourselves in our young teens and 20s? Like, and I'm not shaming anybody who has a child right now, because you could be a young mom or a young dad.
Had me at 20.
Yeah, my mom had me young too. You could be a young mom, young dad, and still be great and still produce good children. I'm not saying that you can't, and I'm not shaming anybody. I'm just saying we have to think about the cycle. You get what I'm saying?
And that's something I think about really, really often. Like, of course, I want to have a partner. I want to get married. But I think about the fact that I am in politics. And so when we talk about having the physical and mental capacity of being able to pour into a child and nurture them the way that you need to, a lot of times when you're in politics, you're on the go. And when we see women in politics, you know, even in this past election, we saw with Vice President Kamala Harris, we saw a lot of people call her like a childless cat lady. We talked about people saying like she isn't a mom, right? Even though she's talked about the health parts or the health issues that she faced, that it's prevented her from having a child. But people perceive you differently when you're in politics, and either you have a kid or you don't have a kid. And so those are all things that I take into consideration. Something else I take into consideration is my worldview. I have a single mother. It is very important to me that I'm married before I have a child. And so when I think about the timeline of my life and like the type of person that I want to marry, I also have to be realistic with myself and say that person that I'm looking for right now and the things that I'm looking for in a partner, he probably isn't my age. Like he probably isn't 23 years old. And so being real with myself in that regard.
Nah, that's a fact. And I guess the next thing I want to talk about as well is the board of visitors aspect, which you talked about earlier as well, right? Where we have to be, so each and every one of us are the CEOs of our lives.
Yeah.
Right? So I am the CEO of AleahDua.com. You get what I'm saying? And what that basically means is I'm the boss of my life, and every CEO has board of visitors.
Yep.
And these are basically a group of people that help guide you and help you make decisions, because we should not go through life alone.
Yes.
And your board of visitors don't have to be a whole bunch of people, because you don't want a whole bunch of people helping you govern yourself.
Yeah.
Right? These should be like your parents, right? And if you have parents, that could be board of visitors. And your board of visitors, each person on your team
Serves a purpose.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Each person, they add a certain level of value, and what person A may be able to do, person B may not be able to do. So you don't compare the two.
So what does that look like? So for my board of visitors, I have Aaliyah, right? So Aaliyah adds the emotional standpoint, not your traumatized. Aaliyah adds the emotional standpoint. Aaliyah is my best friend, so I tell her everything. Whatever is coming to my head, whatever thought I have, I'm texting it in that phone in that moment. And so it's cool to have, in your board of visitors, you need a sounding board, a person that you can go to with no judgment and that you can just say things that are fresh off of your head and they give you the feedback. Second person I have in my board of visitors is someone who is older than me. And for me, that's my grandmother, and she provides me wise counsel when it comes to my relationship with God. She provides me wise counsel in politics as someone who has been where I aspire to be, but she also gives me insight on things that I might not see because of the experience that I just haven't faced yet. And so sometimes she'll tell me, like, you don't understand it yet, but you'll understand it when you're older. And when people used to say that, I used to be really upset, but now that I'm older.
Yeah, we getting older and understanding.
Yeah.
Like, I understand why my mom was saying no when I was in the store.
Yes.
Like, you don't need it. And
so
it costs money.
You need that person in your board of visitors that's you don't understand it now, but you'll understand it later. The next person you need in your board of visitors is your swimsuit friend. And your swimsuit friend is not your friend who's going to tell you that you look great in that swimsuit. Your swimsuit friend is the person who's going to tell you, you don't need that swimsuit. You might need a one-piece swimsuit, or you might not need that bikini with the top because, you know, you might need something else. But it's also that person who you feel comfortable enough to take swimsuit shopping with you and who can see you in that vulnerable state, right? And then, of course, I have mentors who are my big sisters who I look to for sisterhood. And I go to them about things pertaining to relationships. Like, I have mentors who are married, and I look to them in that standpoint, or mentors who, if I'm going to day-to-day things, I'm able to confide in them. And so as a whole, your board of visitors should be well-rounded, and they should be people, not just your friends who have the same mindset as you, because a lot of times as friends, we project. In a lot of situations, Aaliyah and I had to come to the conclusion we don't need to talk about and give relationship advice to each other because we have some of the same issues.
It's just the blind leading the blind.
Literally.
Yeah, and I think it's just knowing your strong suits.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's not saying we can't talk to each other about it. It's just saying that I can help you get through it emotionally as being like the...
Can you?
Like,
you mopped
when
I was crying.
Not me per se, but I'm saying like what do y'all say? The friend that you have a friend that you go through stuff with.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm saying
Aaliyah's not that friend, y'all. I came to her crying. She was mopping up her floor.
yes, because I just can't deal with all the emotions and the shenanigans. Like, come on now.
Shenanigans is crazy. That was a real life issue, but okay.
Anyway, does that issue matter right now? No.
Go on.
Anyways, right? My point that I'm trying to make is you have people that sometimes you just need people, right?
Yes.
But then sometimes you need wise counsel.
Yes.
And your friends who are going through things for the first time with you really can be that wise counsel because
we're living through it together.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So I'll straight up tell you, Naya, maybe we should call this person.
Yeah.
Or maybe you
Shout
should
out
call
Miss
that
Halima.
you should call that person,
Auntie Jada.
right? Because I can't help you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? We're just the blind, literally leading the blind. And also, another thing that I want to talk about too is that a lot of times what I see is when it comes to the blind lead the blind, a lot of people, like, as people, we hang out with like-minded individuals.
Yes.
Right? We hang out with people who are into similar things as us, whether those things are positive or negative, right? We hang out with people who would support our antics and the nonsense, right? We have to start getting around a lot different groups of people.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have different groups of people for different things. Like, I just saw this post earlier and was like, yo, you can have 20 people show up when you want to go to the club and you want to go partying and drinking and smoking, but you only have one friend when you want to go to a business meeting or a business conference. That shouldn't be the thing. And for me, at one point, Yania was that my only friend that I could pull up to events with.
And
now
I brought my cousins with me.
yes.
now
Now it's like I can go to events and I have a group of people or just different people that I can call. Yeah, I could call and I speak to, because when I went to those events, I met people and I networked and I gained exposure to new experiences. Right? So we have to start hanging out with new people that can expose us to new stuff. Right? I have people who be like, yo, I don't like the club, but I see them in the club all the time. Right? And I just think that we need to change our surroundings if we want better. We can't stay in the same environments but say that we want more. Right? We have to watch out for the negative influences and the people who always, yo, I got into a fight last night. Yo, why this popped up at my house? Why this happened? Why did it, like?
And once you start having different high level conversations, you don't even want to hear that anymore. Like, it starts to really just turn you off. And, you know, granted, it's important to not be judgmental, because there's times where I'm gonna call you and
no. It can ghetto.
Yeah, it's times where I'm gonna call Aaliyah like, why this person just X, Y, and Z. But, you know, in that same breath, it's also very important to have that balance of conversation, one, but two, going back to being around people who you aren't the smartest person. You are able to learn and bounce ideas off of different people. Because if you are in an environment of people where y'all are constantly talking about the same things every day, y'all are constantly having the same conversations, constantly talking about Jada and Ari and Des and all the celebrity gossip that's going on, nothing changes if nothing changes. And so sometimes it's uncomfortable to be in situations and rooms where these people are having these conversations. I don't know what they're talking about. And in those times where you don't know what people are talking about, that is your time to be quiet and just to listen. You have 2 ears, so you listen twice as much as you speak. And so when I'm in rooms where I understand that these people have different worldviews from me, they have different perspectives from me, I'm just there to soak in and be a sponge and absorb. Because regardless of what conversation you're in, you're absorbing something. And so going back to Aaliyah's point of being the CEO of your life, you are in control of the information that you receive and whether or not it's good and bad. Either way it goes, it's going to impact your life and your environment. Going back to only having 24 hours in a day, if you sit on the phone and you talk to your friend about 6 hours a day about nonsense, that's what your life is going to become ultimately.
No, that's a fact. And even to add on to that, y'all, I'm about to speak to somebody real quick, right? And I'm speaking to you, whoever need to hear this, right? Whoever I'm speaking to right now, you probably know that you're better and you're more deserving than the environment that you're in right now. You know that, like, yo, I'm better than this. I have more to do with my time than this.
And it's okay to feel like you're better than something.
This don't serve me no more.
Yeah.
This energy or this environment, I don't want to be around this no more. But it's just something that you're used to. And that's all you have right now. Well, not all you have. That's all you feel like you have right now. And I want you to know something. It's okay to step out and be different. I had to tell myself that early on, because it was some environments that I was in that I knew, like, Aaliyah, this not you. If your parents knew you was in this environment right now, like, this not me. I'm not supposed to be here right now, right? And God spares you, right, in moments where, like, you either supposed to get in trouble or something's supposed to happen or something went down. God will spare you when he knows that you're different. Or sometimes he'll punish you to let you know, like, yo, this not for you. I don't know who I'm speaking to right now, but I just felt led to say that. But, like, we have to be able to notice when we are different and when we have a higher calling and be able to be dolly for that time frame while we're trying to figure it out. Because I used to go to events by myself. I still go to a lot of events by myself. In a lot of events, I am still the only and the youngest person in there, right? But that's because I understand that I'm deserving to be in this environment. You know what I'm saying? And until you put yourself in those environments, you're going to stay and stuck where you are, y'all. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you have to know not all your friends are going to come with you because it's not their calling to come with you.
And do it anyway.
Exactly.
Do it anyway. I have learned that sometimes, well, in this stage of my life, there's a lot of things that I will do or apply for or go to opportunities, and I will literally only tell Aaliyah and my grandmother. And there are certain things that I don't even tell my whole board of visitors, because sometimes when you talk to your friends about certain opportunities that God has placed in your head, unintentionally, sometimes people will project things onto you, or, you know, you aren't able to fully flesh out the ideas you have. And one thing that I learned is, if someone is not going to add a specific value to the idea or the opportunity that you are telling them, it's okay to be quiet.
Yeah, like you don't have to tell people.
You don't have to tell people that you are about to apply to an opportunity, that you're about to apply to a job. If they aren't writing you a letter of recommendation, if they aren't prepping you for an interview, it is okay to keep things between you and God.
Exactly.
So,
and it's better when you pop out too.
Yes. And so with that being said, it is very, very important that something I had to learn from Aaliyah was sometimes we're better with, you know, a familiar hell rather than an unfamiliar heaven.
I learned that from my dad. Okay.
And so for us, sometimes we live in like a scarcity mindset of like, I'm scared to go outside of what I know, because what if this is the best that it gets? What if I take that leap of faith and it's not any better? And that has to do with relationships as well. Sometimes we could feel like, what if this man is the best thing that I could get? Even though I know it's a little bit toxic, like, I don't know, the dating environment is a little bit scary right now. Like, let me just stay with him a little bit longer. And so, again, let this podcast be your sign to take that leap of faith and figure it out as you go, and know that if you have it in your head, maybe I shouldn't be with this man, I deserve better. Maybe I shouldn't be with this friend group, I deserve better. It was there for a reason, and you take that leap of faith and you go.
That's a fact.
And you'll find your community when you get there. You'll find your husband when you get there. You find your wife when you get there.
That's a fact. And just be raw and authentic with yourself, and understand, like, not all your friends gonna come with you either. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to have this feeling where I felt like I had to bring people in certain rooms, and I put them in them rooms and they don't know how to move. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, you want to expose people, but you have to know who can come with you at certain moments, right? When you become the boss of the events and it's your own event, then you can start bringing people with you. But sometimes you have to go dolly, get the information, then bring it back, and then shortly start bringing people to things. Like, I'm telling y'all the real, right? Because I do this in real life. You feel me? Like, not everybody is going to come with you. Not everybody's going to be prepared to come with you, and you have to be willing to do things on your own.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I think that brings us to the next point we was talking about with networking.
Yep.
One of the number one networking tips I would say is bring a friend who's on the same timing as you. If you are nervous to go to an event, I'll double team an event real quick. So if I am at a politics event, I'm gonna bring a friend who either knows the person who's hosting the event or is in a confident environment where they can advocate on their behalf. So if I'm going to an event, I'm going to bring Aaliyah with me. I know that regardless of if it's politics, it's tech, Aaliyah has a confident persona to where she is able to work a room. And so sometimes when you're nervous to go into those spaces, bring your friend with you so that you guys can both navigate that space together.
That's a fact. And let's just go into like the tips with networking, right? So the question I asked you was, or want to ask you is, are networking events important? Explain what a networking event is, right? What conferences are, and should you pay to go?
Yeah, so the same way that y'all allocate money at the beginning and y'all are added to those Miami 2025 trips, the Turks and Caicos for your birthday trip, you need to allocate a budget for going to conferences. That $100, $200 ticket, that flight can change your life, literally. It is an investment into your future, and you should see it as that. And so when you get there, you spent your money, you bought the ticket, you bought a flight, you booked the hotel. You don't sit there and be quiet and be shy and scared to talk to people. So the first thing you're going to do, my number one hack, if I'm in line for registration, it's a person in front of me, it's a person behind me. We're both stuck there for the next 10 minutes. And so I'm going to introduce myself. My first two things is, how do you know the conference? What brings you here? How do you know the host? And so if we're in a more intimate setting, we were at Aaliyah's Broken Brilliant game at GF the other day, and I'm talking to different people, and I'm saying, like, how do you know Aaliyah? And we're building on that. I know Aaliyah because she teaches financial literacy in X, Y, and Z school, and I'm a facilitator in X, Y, and Z. And then you're going into that conversation. How did you get to this event? I'm at ALC because I'm a lobbyist. I'm at the Albany Caucus because I'm a chief of staff for X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. And that can connect you to how you may need that person. You never know who is in the front of you and who is behind you.
Fact.
And you won't know if you don't have that conversation with them. But Yania, I spoke to them, and now they're talking on for too long. I'm ready to go. Have your exit strategy. How can I follow up? How can I connect? Make sure you have a business card on you, and we're in a digital media. Make sure that you have a LinkedIn where people can follow up on you, or social media. If social media is your follow-up of choice, make sure your social media is clean.
Don't have no naked photos on there. Don't have no, videos of you cursing up a storm and stuff like that. You want to be professional, clean.
Make sure your social media is clean. We're in an era where your social media is your brand. That's not to say that you can't have fun. That's something that I battle a lot, like whether or not I should post, the fun picture, the baddie picture, or if I should post a political picture. But whatever you do, make sure that it's clean and it's up to par. And so with that being said, the last thing that you're going to do is making sure that you're going into that conversation or into that conference with a goal. Is your goal to have 50 LinkedIn connections by the end of this conversation? Is your goal to meet 5 people who are in this specific field? Is your goal to meet friends? And last but not least, figuring out how you're adding value to those conversations. So once you're going up to them and you're speaking to them and you're figuring out what you want to get from the conversation, making sure that you're also giving something to the conversation so that it's not transactional, you're being genuine, and you're able to follow up with them and get the best out of that opportunity.
Now that's a fact. And the only really two things I would add on is follow up, y'all. Mm-hmm. Follow up. You just did all that work, got their contact just to go home,
stack a business card,
and just look at the business cards. Mm-hmm. Follow up, even if they don't respond. Follow up.
You did it.
I've gotten so many opportunities just because I followed up. Quick story, y'all. Literally, one of my mans came to an event that I had here. He met my dad and things like that. Mm-hmm. And my father does real estate. My man does real estate, and the guy literally texted my dad, was like, hey, so-and-so following up, because I guess my dad told him about this a very exclusive real estate event. Mm-hmm. And I saw him in a video. I'm like, Dad, so-and-so was here. He was like, yeah. I'm like, what? How did he get there? He was like, he followed up. I said, what? I'm like, he was like, yeah, I like that young brother. I respect him because he followed up. You know how many people I talk to, they sit in my face, they waste my time, and they don't follow up? And he was like, I gave him that opportunity over my friend because I respected that. Yeah. Right? And there's so many people who would be willing to work with you, but you did not follow up. Like, I'll go to events, Christmas parties, and a follow-up doesn't have to be long. It could just be like, hey, I'm so-and-so. It was such a pleasure meeting you. And also send a picture as well. Sending a picture is good. Maybe take a selfie or picture with the person, and you can send it to them so they remember your face.
That's a good
and
tip.
Say, hey, I'm so-and-so. It was a pleasure meeting you last night at the event. If any way I could add value, let's definitely connect. Or if there was something specific that y'all talked about in a conversation, you could bring that up. But just follow up, y'all, and stay connected with the person.
I agree.
And it doesn't have to be long at all. And my next tip after that would just be confidence. Yeah. When you speaking in people's face, speak with authority and confidence like you are who you are, because you are, right? I'll have people come up, or I'll see people come up to people like celebrities or people and be like, oh, I'm a nobody, you don't know who I am, but I'm so-and-so. Why would I want to have a conversation with you after you just walked up to me and said you're a nobody? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, what are you speaking over your life?
Like, that right there lets me know everything about you. That lets me know that you don't really feel confident with who you are. That lets me know that you put me at a pedestal, so now I'm a little scared. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Right? Have confidence. Walk up to somebody like, hey, I'm so-and-so. I appreciate everything you just said on this panel. I appreciate the work that you do. I have this company called Financial Revolutionn. I teach financial literacy. Boom, boom, boom. Like, have an elevator pitch, y'all. Yep. Right? Know exactly what you're going to say. Right? Have your elevator pitch. Your elevator pitch is your 30-second introduction. Right? That should be your name, where you from, something that you may have in common with that person. And another thing I would say is if you're going to an event, right, and there's a specific person you want to talk to at that event, do some homework on that person. Figure out something that y'all may have in common and use that as your talking point. So if I know that I'm about to talk to somebody who went to a HBCU, I'll use that as a talking point because I went to HBCU. If I'm talking to somebody who I know is a part of Divine Nine, I'm going to say I'm a Delta. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't got to be a weirdo, like you have every fact about them, but have talking points. And speak to the point about what you was talking about, how like confidence is knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to your point, people want to pour into young people. And so when you walk into a room and you're a young person, people are already open to helping you because they want to see you succeed. They want to be that person that mentored you and allowed you to get into that next door. And so to Aaliyah's point, when you are introducing yourself, all confidence is at the core is knowledge. You are able to be confident and speak confidently about something because you're knowledgeable on that. You're able to be confident when you speak about financial literacy because you're knowledgeable on that. And so when you speak about yourself, take the time to really get to know yourself. So when you're telling someone, you are confident about who you are, and that projects. If you don't know who you are and you didn't take the time to really learn anything about you, you can't really tell somebody who you are. And even if you do, I don't believe in the whole faking it till you making it, because all you have to do is be knowledgeable about what you are. If I'm sitting here and I'm faking who I am and what I bring to this table, it's gonna sound like that. If I saying I am Yania, I graduated from Virginia State University, I teach young people about politics and how to get internships, that is something I'm talking about because I did it. And I'm knowledgeable about it. And so take that time to really learn what you bring to the table prior to the conference. Before you get there, I don't care if you're on the plane, I don't care if it's in your Uber ride there, you need to sit down all the things and write that you bring to the table, all the things that you have done in your life that make you deserve to be in that space. A lot of times we'll get places and we're shy because we don't really know how we fit in. I don't care if I'm at a tech conference. I don't care if I'm at a marketing conference. I'm going to figure out something that qualifies me to be here and why you need me to speak to you and why I add value to this conversation. And people will always remember that.
That's a fact. And last thing before we finish off is just also consistency, right? Going to, like, when you go to these conferences, go a couple of times. Don't go to a conference one time and just shut the door and be like, nah. The first time you might go to a conference, you either may really love it or you may not like it. But when you go to these conferences over and over again, you'll see the same people. They'll be like, yo, I saw you last year.
Yeah.
I saw you the year before that. Eventually, it's going to be like, yo, what you do? Let's work together. How can we break bread? Because it's just like, I'm seeing, it's people who be like, yo, I saw you in this last room.
Yeah.
I saw you in this last room. And we're all like-minded here. Eventually, it's like, all right.
What do you do?
You do something. You do something. Right? And eventually, and another thing one of my men said on the stage, he was like, sometimes when you go to these conferences, when you hear people talk, you have to envision yourself being a person talking next year as well, depending on what it is that you do. Some of y'all don't deserve to be in the audience. Some of y'all deserve to be on the stage. So sometimes you got to go to these conferences to see how it's done. You know what I'm saying? So, like, just be consistent. Don't do anything one time and think you about to get all the results in the world. You finish it up and things like that. You may not even get to speak to that person that you want to speak to, but you're going to see them again at the next conference.
Yes. And to that point, be audacious. Have audacity. The people who have these opportunities don't have these opportunities because they're smarter than you. It's because they had the audacity to ask while you were nervous. Make sure that you are taking up space. The difference between you speaking on a panel this year and next year is whether or not you had the audacity to walk up to the person and say, I deserve to be here.
That's a fact.
You could be the most qualified person in the room, but nobody would know that if you never sat and you brought it up. Be audacious in every room that you go to. I think a notable moment that you did when we were at the Brooklyn Bank, everybody was scared to raise their hand. Aaliyah stood up and raised her hand. She was audacious enough to take up room. And so, again, nobody will know the gifts and the talents that you bring to a room unless you are able to stand up and claim it boldly over your life. Everybody in the room, when you're at conferences, has something to bring to the table. But a lot of those people are shy. A lot of those people have anxiety. The difference is you are going to sit there and you're going to take up space and you are going to be the one to tell that person that I'm supposed to be here.
Nah, that's a fact. And to your point, the reason why I did that is, I'm not going to lie, like, there are some things that's awkward to me, right? I don't let the awkwardness stop me from doing it, but it is awkward walking up to people sometimes, especially at that time. Like, I was like 18, right? So a hack of mine was when I go to events where you can actually ask questions to the crowd and speak, I will always try to get a question or ask a question. You know why? Because when you ask a question, that's the opportunity for everyone to listen to you, and that's your opportunity to introduce who you are and what you do. So now when the event's over, instead of me having to go to people and talk to them, everybody's trying to come up to me, get my information, and figure out how we could connect.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying? And when you're young, always mention your name. If you're under 25, y'all, always mention not your name, your age, because especially when you're at events with like 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, right? Because their first thing is like, yo, like, you 23,
yeah,
22,
and you're here.
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? So those are our top tips that I would give.
Yep.
And what do you want to leave the people with? This has been a great episode, a lot of gems, a lot of information.
I think the top tips that I want to leave y'all with is, one, set a budget aside to go to conferences in 2025. Make sure that you are showing up and you are showing out. And when you get there, make sure you have audacity. The next thing I want to leave y'all with is to educate yourselves. We are about to see a lot of unprecedented things in these next 4 years. And the only thing that we have is education. So make sure you're taking the time to really understand the federal government, yes, but what's about to take place in these next 4 years, and what can you do? The next thing I'm gonna do is challenge y'all to invest into a local campaign. Donate $5-10 to a campaign of a local elected official who you believe in, who you feel like aligns with your views and your values. And then the last thing I would say is, again, like I always tell you guys, there is no look to teach financial literacy. There is no look to become a politician. There is no look to create a startup. It is in you. Make sure that in every room that you walk in, you understand that God has placed you there for a reason, and everything else, your anxiety, your circle, is just a barrier from you getting there. So it's you versus you. We need more revolutionaries in society. So when y'all ready, meet us there.
Let's get it. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you follow Yania. Where can they follow you and find you?
Y'all can find me on TikTok at yc.prez. Y'all can find me on Instagram at yania.campbell.
Let's get it. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Peace.
Bye.
See you on the next one.